Hi everyone, and welcome to this month's mid-month mentoring. So today we're going to talk about systemizing your business, and perhaps I'll just spend a minute just telling you a little bit about myself in case you don't know who I am. So my name is Richard Evans. I've been working in the property business since the mid-90s. I also had a very successful corporate career. In 2017, I decided that I wanted to quit the corporate world and focus on my property business. Now, I knew at the time that if I was going to be successful in growing my property business, that I couldn't do it all myself and that I would need to put systems in place and systemize the business. So that's exactly what I did, and obviously I'm going to talk to you about what that involves. At that time, a lot of people started to come to me and they started to say, that they had tried to scale up their business and they'd struggled. And could I help them and mentor them in putting systems in place? So that's when I started Awaken to Business, where we started to do some recruitment of virtual assistants from the Philippines. And I started doing some mentoring for people on growing their business. That became very, very popular. And so the following year, 2019, I then formed a service called Boom, where we actually recruit virtual assistants from the Philippines. We train them in all sorts of things when it comes to admin tasks for businesses. We also provide mentoring to the clients and a lot of support all around working with virtual assistants and outsourcing. And then last year I formed another business, which is Your Virtual Marketing Team. And there we help people with branding and with building websites and social media and digital marketing, all of that sort of stuff we do through Your Virtual Marketing Team. So that's a little bit about me. I can see now that we've got quite a few people have joined. I'm actually going to start the presentation now. So I'll share my screen with you. There we go. Okay, so generally with businesses, there are three different levels that businesses operate. So first of all, most businesses at the startup stage, they may be a good idea that somebody has come up with. They now want to implement that idea and turn it into a business. So this is the startup stage. And at the startup stage, you are very much the business. You do everything really within the business. So it's a bit like the hot dog man, where the hot dog guy goes out, he has to buy the stock. He then sets up the stall. He's cooking the burgers or the hot dogs, doing the serving, collecting the money, then banking the money at the end of the day, doing his own accounts, and the next day it all starts again. So he is the business, or she is the business, and working completely independently. Very tiring, very much hard work, and because he is the business, it's very, very difficult to actually start to grow and expand the business. So that's the first level. Then we come on to the growth stage. So this is now where, okay, recognizing that I can't do everything myself, so I need to build a team around me. And at this growth stage, you're very much like a restaurateur. So when it comes to running a restaurant, you're building the team. You've got perhaps cooks and chefs in the kitchen. You've got waitresses, waiters that are actually serving the food. You might have somebody front of house welcoming people when they come into the restaurant, and perhaps bar staff as well. You might well have also a bookkeeper. You might be working with a marketing agency, doing your advertising and your marketing. So you've got various different people that are all helping you with your business, and you're focusing more on the strategic stuff, the actual how you're going to manage your growth. Have you got enough money coming in, paying the bills, etc. So much more strategic rather than operating within the business, doing all the day-to-day stuff. And then the third level of business is entrepreneur stage. So now this is like the McDonald's. So now you've got lots and lots of branches, lots of restaurants spread out, or you might have different businesses, multiple streams of income. So here at this stage, you are not so reliant on certain things such as, you know, what's going on in the market. You become much more resilient. And of course, you're also generating much better profits as well. So these are the three different levels of business. And really what we're going to talk about is how you can move up through these various different levels by scaling up. So in order to do that, you've got to put systems in place. You need to systemize the business. There are three parts to systemizing your business. So the first part is software. You've got to be using software within the business. So the software will allow you to automate as much as possible what you actually do, your processes. The processes themselves, these are the way that you do things. So the way that you achieve certain outcomes, or the various different outcomes within the business. And then finally, people. So software, process, and people that can actually use that software and run the process, so you're not doing it all yourself. And when you've got those three elements, then you have got a systemized business. And a systemized business will very much run like a well-oiled machine. So it's a minimum amount of effort for the maximum output. And within each business, within every business, there are 5 functional areas. And it doesn't matter what the business is, whether it is that hot dog stall or whether it is a much larger business. There are the 5 functional areas remain the same, whatever the business. So first of all, you start off with your marketing. So this is how you go out to market. You attract inquiries to your business, telling people what it is exactly that you do. Then you've got sales. So this is how you convert those inquiries that you're generating through your marketing activities into firmed up business. So how people are now going to part with their cash to get your product or your service that you're offering. Then you've got operations. So this is how you deliver what you do, all the day-to-day stuff, how you actually provide the service that people have purchased from you. Then you've got finance. So how you get paid, how you pay your suppliers, your credit control, other things perhaps like payroll, anything accounts-wise, that's your finance, that's the 4th element. And then finally, client retention. So how you go on to do further business with your existing clients. And you need to have systems in place for all of these 5 functional areas. So you've got to be using the right software for the various different things that need to be done. You've got to have processes, the way that you actually do things for each of those areas, and you've got to have the right people with the right skill sets within each of the 5 functional areas themselves as well. So why should you systemize your business? So first of all, when you have a systemized business and you have a way of doing things, that sets the client expectation. So your clients know exactly what they're going to get when they come to you. If we go back to McDonald's, if you go to a McDonald's restaurant, you know exactly what you're going to get. Okay, so if you order a Big Mac, it doesn't matter whether you order it in London or if you order it in Hong Kong, it's going to be exactly the same. So it's setting the expectation and consistency in what you do. So again, the McDonald's burger, it is perhaps the burger is cooked at a certain temperature for a certain amount of time on one side, and then it's flipped over, cooked again on that side. It goes into a bun that's been warmed up to a certain temperature. That's going to go in there. There's going to be lettuce, tomato, dressing or whatever, all in the same order, all in the same quantities. It's then served to you by a server that's wearing a uniform. They look the same. The restaurant, it all looks the same. You know exactly what you're going to get. And that is because they've got processes. They have a way of doing things. And everything is systemized. And also these processes are all documented as well. So these are what you call your operations manuals, documenting the way that you do things. how you do everything, and they become one of your greatest assets. If you become a McDonald's franchisee, then what you're actually buying is their process, that operations manual that explains exactly what you do and how to do it, and it's part of their training. You may know this fella, Brad Sugars. Perhaps he's more known for his company, which is Action Coach. So he's the founder of Action Coach, who are the world's largest coaching organization. He's from Australia, and he has this saying here: not employing someone in your business is costing you a fortune. It's so important that you're not doing everything yourself, that you've got the right people doing things. So you need to build a dream team. So perhaps you know again who these people are, these ladies here. So they are our Team GB Winter Olympics gold team winners for curling last year. So that's our dream team. You need to build your own dream team here. So first of all, when it comes to building a dream team, why do you need to do that? Well, first of all, of course, you don't have time to do everything yourself. You can't scale up if you're trying to do everything. So you don't have the time there. Also, you don't have the knowledge to do everything as well. So as your business grows, there are going to be things that will need to be done that you don't know how to do, or you're not particularly good at. So for instance, in my business, I understand accounts and I understand the importance of accounts, but to be honest, it bores the pants off me. So the last thing I want to be doing is any kind of bookkeeping. So I have my accounts team. They do deal with all of the bookkeeping element. They run through with me reports. So we'll go through cash flow forecasts and profit and loss reports, because it's my business. I'm running the business. So I need to make sure that the money is flowing in and it's going out as it should do. But I don't need to be bogged down with the details. So they run through financial reports with me, and then they leave me after the end of that financial meeting to get on with doing the things that only I can do. For many of us in businesses, there are perhaps things that you know that should be doing or should be getting done, but you don't actually have the time, so they just don't get done. So again, by building a dream team, you can make sure that all of the things that need to be done do actually get done. So start to build out your dream team, and then delegate as much as possible and do as little as possible yourself. And when I say do as little as possible, I mean, of course, the day-to-day stuff, where you need to be focusing your time if you want to grow is on the strategic stuff, the things that only you can do, or perhaps the things that only you want to do, because there may be things within the business that you enjoy doing and you like doing those. So that's fine. If you're that restaurateur and you want to be the person front of house and you enjoy doing it, then be front of house. But if you're not particularly good front of house and it's not something that you enjoy doing, then you employ somebody to do that. So outsource what you don't want to do or have to do tomorrow. Do yourself. But remember, you need to start thinking of building your team a long time in advance of when you actually need these people. So it takes time to build a team. So you need to recruit today for the people that you're going to need tomorrow. So if we just think through the recruitment process, so well, think about your business. Think about, where do I want to be in 3 years' time? So if this is the point I want to be in 3 years' time, where do I need to be in 18 months' time? So where do I need to be in a year's time, and where do I need to be in 6 months' time? And just work backwards and start thinking about your growth and how you want to scale the business and where you want to be at certain moments in time. And then when you've got that understood, then you can start to think about your dream team and how you're going to build that dream team. And it does take time. So let's take the 6 month position. So if you're identified that in 6 months' time, you need to have within your business perhaps somebody that's doing your social media marketing, and also somebody that's perhaps doing your bookkeeping, and maybe some other kind of sort of day-to-day management task, admin task as well. So then start to think, right, okay, so I'm going to need somebody that's creative and somebody that likes attention to detail so they can do the admin stuff. And then you're going to think, right, okay, so I'm going to start listing some adverts on various different platforms to actually try and find those people. Well, before you can list the advert, you've got to think about the actual job description. So you're going to write a job description, what the role actually involves, and then you stick that onto, let's say, indeed.co.uk. And then you're going to get the applications are going to come in. So you're going to get lots of CVs, hopefully, if you've done a good job description. You've got to evaluate those CVs, go through, look at what people are good at, what's their experience, perhaps shortlist down all of the CVs that you've got and applications that you've got, maybe down to perhaps 10 or so that you want to take to the next stage. That could be interview stage. So you might then want to interview them, see who you get along with, explore a little bit more into their background and their experience. And then from there, you might decide, okay, so now we're down to 2, and give them perhaps some trial tasks or something like that. So you can just narrow it down to the one person for that particular role that you're looking to fill. So that could have taken you, maybe even a few weeks just to get to that stage. And then once you've made your selection, then you're going to take that person on board. You've then got to train them. You've got to train them in your business, what your business is about. You're going to get to know them. You're going to get to know them, then you're going to get to like them, and then you're going to get to trust them. That's going to take a period of time as well. They're going to have to get to know about you, about the business, about the role. They're going to go through this whole learning process through the training that you've given them. And it could be some time until they're fully up to speed, what we call being in their flow, where they start the job in the morning and they know exactly what they've got to do. They're just repeating the pattern, doing the various different things that they need to do to fulfill the role. So that can all take time. Now, assuming you get it right, then that's great. You've now got somebody, the first person perhaps in your dream team. But if you get it wrong, then of course you've got to go back to stage 1 again and start again, listing again, getting the application, start the whole process again. So mistakes when it comes to recruitment can be very costly financially, but they can also be very costly in time as well. So it's really important that you understand that and you start to think in advance, okay, what's the business going to need who are the people the business is going to need in 6 months' time, so that you can plan all of that out in advance. The next question you may ask yourself is, am I going to have somebody coming in full-time, or am I going to have somebody part-time? Well, my main bit of advice on here is don't employ people full-time. Always use part-timers within the business. So good reasons for that. First of all, when you take somebody on full-time, it's a big financial commitment, but also you're totally reliant on that one person. So if they go sick, they leave all of a sudden, you're down to, no support at all. So you've just gone backwards. Whereas perhaps if you take on 2 part-timers or more part-timers doing the roles, then you've got resilience within your team. When somebody leaves or when somebody goes away on holiday or they're sick, then you've still got cover. So always try to have more than one person within. So we talked about the functional areas, the different functional areas of the business. So within each of the functional areas of my business, I have at least 2 people working so that I've got that resilience. It also works better for the person that's actually doing the work as well, because they're not too reliant on you. So they can perhaps have 2 or 3 clients, work for 2 or 3 businesses. They're going to get more variety in what they do. They're going to learn more things by working within different businesses. So it can be better for them as well. So really everybody benefits. So yeah, always use part-timers. And then you think about, okay, so is this person going to be, you've really got 3 options in total. You've got PAYE, so somebody that's you're taking on, they're on the books. I really wouldn't recommend that at all. You know, if you're employing people and you've got them on PAYE, then you've got all sorts of other responsibilities. You've got NI to worry about. You've got employment legislation, lots and lots and lots of different things. So if you're running a small business, stick away from PAYE if you possibly can. Then your next option is freelancers. So freelancers, you can recruit them off the internet. Generally, a freelancer would be recruited to do a specific task. So perhaps if you want to build a website, then maybe you might recruit a freelancer to build that website for you. Freelancers are normally working for 2 or 3 people at the same time. And once the project is complete, then they will go on and they will stop being part of your team until perhaps you need them again. And then you've got virtual assistants. So what is a virtual assistant? So a virtual assistant is somebody that can give you support with the various different operational tasks within your business. So they can be a general administrator, or they could be specialists. So I just used that example earlier, a VA that, or somebody that can deal with the day-to-day operational tasks, or somebody specialist that perhaps is a social media specialist. They're very creative. They can create graphics. They can create content. They understand social media. That's where their experience and background is. That's all they do. Or perhaps on the finance side, it could be somebody that's a qualified bookkeeper, and you know they understand zero in and out, and they can prepare profit and loss reports, and you know they're much more detailed. That's their specialist area. So virtual assistant can work in either of those ways. A virtual assistant is part of your business. So they're not somebody like a freelancer that's just there to complete a project for a temporary period of time. They become part of your business. They are part of your team. They can be full-time or part-time. We've spoken about that. And generally a virtual assistant will work from home. And they can be either UK based. There's plenty of virtual assistants that you can recruit from the UK, or they can be overseas. So as I've said earlier, we recruit virtual assistants from the Philippines. This here is part of my dream team here. This was taken at a recent conference that we held in the Philippines. So this is some of my team. All of my VAs come from the Philippines. Generally, they are university educated. The Philippines is actually the most popular part of the world for recruiting virtual assistants nowadays. So yeah, they're university educated, or certainly to that standard. So you can expect intelligent people. In the Philippines, they've got excellent English skills. It is a second language there. They've got a great nature, great personality. They're very honest. They're hardworking. They're sensitive. They're loyal. You know, they've got a lovely nature about them. And they're happy to work on a UK time clock. So for many virtual assistants, they may have another job during the day, or maybe they've got family, they've got children that they're bringing up and they need to look after. So working as a virtual assistant can be perhaps an evening job. So in the Philippines, they're 7 hours ahead. In this country where it's 9 o'clock in the morning, I think it's 4 o'clock at this time of year, 4 o'clock in the afternoon in the Philippines. So, you know, that time shift can actually work quite well. And our VAs, of course, we train them in software and processes and all the other the parts of actually being a great VA. We train them in how to be outstanding and how to go the extra mile and really stand out above other virtual assistants that you may find. So what are the things that a virtual assistant can help you with? Building your audience. So on the marketing and sales side, building your audience, actually reaching out to the right people that are going to require your product or your goods or your services. Driving your email marketing campaigns, building and managing your social media, preparing marketing materials and presentation materials for you, doing website updates and search engine optimization or SEO, managing your prospect database. On the operations side, so listing products online, or if you're into property, rooms perhaps, or properties online, taking your inquiries and dealing with follow-ups, so making phone calls, receiving telephone calls, drafting out and issuing agreements for signing. Again, in your property, so obviously a lot of my business is property, so if you're into property, then undertaking tenant onboarding, liaising with local utilities and suppliers, coordinating maintenance and repairs, checking room rates, creating and updating your operations manuals. So I talked about earlier the importance of having operations manuals where you've got all of your processes documented out. So that's a VA task. It's not something that you need to do yourself. Looking for new deals and actually stacking them. Are they actual deals? On the finance side, so checking incoming payments, chasing up late payments, bookkeeping, producing financial statements and reports, liaising with your accountant, and managing your expenses and your mileage logs, making sure that you're claiming what you can claim for. So all these things, they're all very time consuming, but you don't really need to do them yourself. And then it's really good to have an executive assistant. So an executive assistant is a bit like a PA, a personal assistant. So they deal with much more of your own sort of personal stuff. So booking your appointments, managing your inbox and responding to emails as necessary, making and receiving telephone calls on your behalf, making travel arrangements, responding to instant messages, and dealing with other personal items as well. So getting an EA can really be game-changing when it comes to getting your time back in your life. So often people are thinking, well, this is all well and good, but how much is this going to cost to build this team? So going back to Brad Sugars, by not employing people in my business, it's costing me a fortune. Now, this is a typical minimum wage earner. McDonald's again. Now, nothing against minimum wage workers, you know, they're generally at the beginning of their career, so they're not going to be very experienced. They may be doing it part-time whilst still at university, getting an education, so absolutely nothing against them. But obviously, they're not going to be somebody generally that's more mature, that's got experience in the work environment, or particularly experienced in any particular role. So if you do take on a minimum wage earner, then you're not going to get the best quality that's out there. And there are other costs as well. So in addition to the basic salary, you've got national insurance to pay, you've got training you're going to have to give them, you're perhaps going to have to give them a computer, maybe a mobile phone. So you've got all these other costs as well. So the true cost of actually taking somebody on just when they're on minimum wage is over £13 an hour. On the other hand, how much does a virtual assistant cost? This is Anne. So she is one of my virtual assistants. Anne works within my property team. So she is dealing with property management. We have short-term lettings, we have long-term lettings, properties that we rent out. She deals with that admin. Yeah, she's got a lot of it. When she came to me, she had a lot of experience in that particular field as well. She is university educated. She's very, very good. She's got great command of English language, highly responsible, she's being paid £6.60 an hour. I say inclusive, that's inclusive of VAT because we are a VAT business. So this is what you could expect to pay, something in that region. And if you're worried that, you know, £6.60 an hour, is Anne not being exploited? No, far from it. Anne is earning a good wage for somebody in the Philippines. You know, the cost of living, wages are much lower in the Philippines, so she's being paid a good wage, she's being paid fairly, and she loves her work, and she's doing what she wants to do, and she's, you know, being well supported. So I think I mentioned earlier that when I first started doing this, people were saying to me, well, I've tried working with a virtual assistant and it didn't quite work out for me. And when I was asking people, well, what went wrong, I found that there were common mistakes that people make when it comes to working with virtual assistants. So I'm just going to run through some of those common mistakes. So first of all, people don't know how to recruit. So we talked through very quickly a recruitment process earlier. That's very quick. There's a lot more to it than that. So if you are trying to recruit and you actually haven't done it before, you know, it is an art. Next, not actually understanding the culture. So especially if you're working with people in another part of the world, it's very, very important that you understand their culture and that they understand our culture as well. So culture is a big thing. Not having a process, not having a way of doing things, and not having your process documented. So again, so that you're consistent in the way that you do things. Not using any task management system. So it's really important, again, when you're delegating tasks to people, that you've got a way of tracking that task, that they've got a way of checking in with you, that you're setting due by dates and it's understood exactly when that task is required to be done, and that all of the information that is needed to complete a task is all held in one place. So it's absolutely essential that when you're working remotely with people, that you've got some kind of task management software in place, and not using suitable software. So, you know, if you're doing your accounts on Excel, then that is unique to you. So it's very, very hard for somebody else to come in and start doing your accounts for you or doing your bookkeeping for you, and they've got to try and work out how you set up that Excel spreadsheet, and there's no real sort of support or guidance around at all. Whereas if you're using accounting software such as Xero, then, you know, it's software that has been specifically designed for that purpose, and you've got support available. If somebody's not quite sure how to do something on Xero, then it's easy. They can go on the internet, they can go on YouTube, they can watch tutorials. It's, you know, it's very well supported. Speak to the software provider themselves. So by not using the right sort of software to do the various different tasks as well, it's a big mistake that people make. Lack of leadership skills. When you're bringing in somebody into your team and you start building that team, it's important that you understand how to lead the team. You know, you're not a boss, you're not a manager. You are there to provide support for your team and to lead your team, and guidance and encouragement. That's your job, your role as the business owner, to be there to lead the team. So understanding those leadership skills, being able to delegate out the tasks, help people to understand what's got to be done, what is the task, being there to answer the questions when necessary, and then let them achieve the actual outcome that's required. Not having a reporting process. So again, really important that your team have a way of reporting back to you, asking you questions, if there's any more information that they need from you, if they've got any problems, that they can report back to you with those things, and that you can track. And again, this is partly Trello, you can track the progress of the actual task as well. Expecting 24/7 support. So often people think that because they've got somebody that's working from home, well, they're always at home, so, you know, they're always available, they're always in their office, their home is their office. That is not the case. You know, if you're working in an office with somebody, you're going to a place of work, and when you finish the day and you walk out of the door, the business owner knows that you're not there, and it's highly unlikely, unless you're in a senior position, of course, but if you're an administrator, it's highly unlikely that the owner of the business is going to start ringing you up when you're at home. They're going to wait for you to come back the next day. Well, for some reason, when people are working from home, people think, well, they're always there, so I can expect a response to a phone call or a message any time of the day or night. So it's not the case. Understanding working hours with your virtual assistant, that this is when they start their shift, this is when they finish their shift, so these are the hours that they're working. It may be that you also have agreed hours when they're not working, but they will respond to messages and this sort of thing. But then also what's important is that you agree hours when they're not working. So what's the time when they're sleeping, when they're eating, when they're spending time with their family, they're doing other things, they're not there at your beck and call. Do they work on a Saturday, or are they available on a Saturday or a Sunday at the weekends? Not working with individual skills. So yes, there's some things, if you've got a general admin virtual assistant, then they may have a broad knowledge of various different things. But we're all good at various different things, and we like doing certain things. I think it's the saying by Isaac Newton. Everybody is a genius, but if you try and teach a fish to climb a tree, it will spend its entire life thinking it's stupid. So we're all good at certain things, but play to people's strengths and not their weaknesses. So as you start to build your team, get to know the individual, what are their strengths, and give them tasks to do that they're good at. The things that they're not so good at, that's where you get somebody else in to do those things. So make sure that you're working with people's individual skills. And of course, when it comes to all of these things, recruitment agencies don't really give any kind of help or guidance. They'll just recruit you somebody, and then from that point on, you're on your own. So just to finish off, with Varbarbum, that is not the case. If you get a virtual assistant through us, then that's the beginning of the relationship, really. We're all about support. That is our core value. So what do you get when you sign up to Varbarbum and you get one of our virtual assistants? Well, in addition to the virtual assistant, you get access to a video vault, which has got lots of information, tutorials on working with VAs, on outsourcing, on scaling up, on different bits of software and how to use them. You get one-to-one mentoring with me. So every new client, I run through how to actually work with a virtual assistant, how to actually outsource, how to be a team leader, how to lead the team effectively. Understanding, again, the culture, how to actually understand the culture of in the Philippines as well. You get access to exclusive webinars such as this one. You also get your own dedicated and trained virtual assistant. We have an IT support desk, so if you're struggling with any of this software or getting it to work, or to get your calendar to talk to your CRM system and vice versa, or anything like that, then we have an IT support desk so we can help you with the technical issues. You get exclusive use to a private Facebook group, so we're very big on community. We know we understand the value in learning off each other, so we have a private Facebook group, and you can ask questions in there. You can look at other people's questions and answers, so engaging with other boomers, as we call them. We call our clients boomers. And of course, you get ongoing support for both yourself and for your virtual assistant as well. So if you ask your virtual assistant to do something and they don't know how to do it, then you don't have to work it out with your VA. Your VA would just touch base with us. We would then provide them with the guidance, with the support and training if necessary on how to actually do these things. So we'll go to a Q&A session now. So if you have got any questions, then please do type them into the chat box or the Q&A box, either one. Okay, so I've got one here. Do you use any kind of time tracking software? Yes, we do. So all of the virtual assistants, when they start their shift, they log on to this time tracking software. It's called HubStaff. And HubStaff, it sets a timer running on their desktop. It takes screenshots. It monitors keyboard and mouse activity, so that we can actually see exactly what they're working on. And that's really forms the basis of how we pay them as well. Any other questions at all? Do clients start with you, then go on to hire their own VAs directly, or do they carry on with you? So good question. No, they don't. They don't. We have a very, very high success rate. So, you know, you can go on the internet and you can recruit virtual assistants for less than you're going to pay through us. However, we are all about support. That is our core value. So no, clients, you know, we're not the Ryanair when it comes to virtual assistants or the EasyJet. People that come to us, they know that they're coming to British Airways. So you're going to get a much better ride with us, and the VA is well supported as well, and ongoing training. So no, we don't have that, so that people hire their own VA, hire their VA, and then go and work directly. In fact, it's also it's not allowed. So from a VA's point of view perspective as well, there's lots and lots of benefits in them working through us because we give them that support, and it's ongoing. At what stage should you get a VA before you start acquiring properties, or when you're preparing your first one to go live? So we do train the virtual assistants in sourcing deals. So we train them in what the different strategies are, what are rent to rents, what are purchase lease options, what is a HMO, you know, what a single let. So we train them in the various different strategies. We also train them in how to source deals, off-market deals and on-market deals, and how to actually stack a deal, understand what is a deal, how do you add value, you know, what are motivated sellers, what does below market value mean. So all these things we train the virtual assistants in. So I think I can pretty safely say that our virtual assistants probably know more about sourcing deals than most deal sourcers are that are out there. And of course, they've got that continued support with us as well. So we do a lot of property stuff. You know, I've got different property businesses. We're doing HMOs, we're doing single lets, we're doing service accommodation, we're using various different bits of software. So all that all of that training and expertise is all available to all of the VAs. And so I'm not sure I answered that question. So it's a good, if you are working and you want to get started quickly and you've got a full-time job, then by getting a virtual assistant, they can actually be going out, they can be looking for deals, they can be doing landlord letters and all that sort of thing whilst you're at work. So that they can just run through any leads that they've got with you over Zoom. You let them know which ones you want to go and view, and then they can set the viewings up. This is how we do our deal sourcing. They can then get onto the necessary agent, set up the viewing for you to actually go and do the viewing. And as you start to scale and grow even more, you may have other people that are doing the viewings for you. So I don't do my own viewings. I oversee the deals. I wouldn't undertake any deal without actually giving it a rubber stamp and making sure that, you know, I'm happy with it. But somebody else will actually go and do the viewings for me. What is the price setup? So the price setup is £495 plus VAT to come on board. So that gets you recruitment and your mentoring with me, access to the video vault, the Facebook group, etc. All those things that I talked about, that's covered within the £495, and the onboarding of your VA as well. And then you are charged by the hour, based on the number of hours that you use. So on the next slide, I'm going to be showing a QR code, if you go to the website, www.varbavum.solutions, there's lots of details on there, and all the rates are on there. So we have different rates depending on usage, and we also have general admin VAs and also what we call premium VAs. So these are people that I say they're specialists in what they do. They've got particular key strength, experience, background in perhaps accounts and bookkeeping or social media marketing, something like that. Right, Anita, I'm talking about an SA property. When we go back, at what stage should you get a VA before you start acquiring properties, when you're paying your first one to go live? Yeah, so I think what my answer really applies to SA, whatever the strategy is. SA itself, probably more so, because, you know, when it comes to serviced accommodation, there's a lot of moving parts to the business, and really sort of understanding that. We provided separate training on serviced accommodation, not just for our VAs, but also client training as well. So there's some details of that, Anita, on the website. We have a serviced accommodation masterclass, but there's a lot to be done when it comes to a serviced accommodation business. And they can really help again with that sourcing and getting the property set up, getting all the, making sure you've got, you know, all the right fixtures and fittings and accessories within the property, finding the right suppliers, cleaners, suppliers for, you know, welcome packs and all this sort of stuff as well. I've got a landline for my business. Can it be redirected to my VA? Yes, it can. So it can be redirected. We use a soft phone system or a voice over IP system. So your number can be directed to the Philippines, and then they can receive calls on there for you on your behalf, and they can dial out using that number as well. And the person receiving the call will think that they're talking to somebody in the UK, but in fact it's your virtual assistant in the Philippines. So if there's no more questions, then thank you very much for joining us for today's mid-month mentoring. So you can scan the QR code there. I think that will take you to the website. If you want to find out any more at all, you can book a call in with me. Happy to do a Zoom call, see how I can help. And if you're not following me on social media as well, do please go find me on Facebook, on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, all of the above, and do friend me, follow me on there. And I'd love to hear from you soon, and hopefully see you next month. Okay, you're welcome. Thank you. Bye-bye.